What a word at the moment. Debt, 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 debt. Big debt, little debt. What's the right debt? Stay tuned. We're going to talk about it now.
I'm the ringleader, so listen up.
Good morning.
Billy, how are you?
I'm good.
How's the young man's body going today?
Yeah, really good. This topic was struck from inspiration of driving next to a very nice car into work, and it's like the question is,
What's the
how
car?
big is your debt?
What sort of
It was a Merc, it was a coupe, and it was a 250D. If that means anything to you,
Wow.
but it was nice, very nice. It kind of got me thinking how big should your debt be? And there kind of is no right answer. But where we're going to go with this morning is, is it a bad thing to have big debt? Is it bad for the soul? Is it bad for business? Is it bad for stress? Or is it good? You're an advocate for debt, though. You quite like it. In a good way. In a good way. Good kind of debt. What's your take?
I think the best of us have debt. I think if you take your cross sections of your buddies, mates, chums, people in business, landlords, everyone, I think everyone's got it.
It's funny, we were just having a quick look at some stats. 66% of people in Australia own a property, and 30% of people are debt-free, which I thought was awfully high. I thought it would be a lot less than that. So 30% are mortgage-free, sorry. And that seemed to be down from 37% in 1999. So there's more debt now.
So people, so out of all the property owners, a third of them on that property don't have a mortgage. That's pretty big. That's pretty big because when you're worrying about interest rates straight away, a third of those people that own houses don't have to worry about those interest rates going up.
Yeah, that's right. Could you blame that on an aging population? I don't know. There seems to be, a lot of money tied into property.
Yeah, probably good disciplines when people are younger, I reckon. Do you know what I mean? Like when people bought something in 1980, 1990 for their families, with their family, stayed there, paid it off. Done.
Yeah.
Healthy.
Yeah. And for a lot of people, that's the dream, right? The Aussie dream is to go either build a house or, eventually buy something and have it all paid off. But I guess everyone's version of the Aussie dream is a little bit different because some people really want to then go and own multiple properties. And, it's interesting. Like which way have you found it to be? Have you found it less stressful owning one property versus a couple, or?
I think. Look, I've always been I've always been a fan of annuity. Annuity is that income that comes in every year. You do nothing, you do something. That income still comes in every year. So it's that consistency. And I think if you create an annuity, particularly once you've paid off, that just keeps coming in. It's healthy. That's good, healthy. And I think that people's appetite for healthy debt, not healthy debt, is really the topic that should be discussed.
The difference and
Yeah.
kind of the examples of that. So,
Yeah.
the example we had this morning was, everyone's obviously focused long term with property, which is the way it should be. But say, for example, you're focused on the short term and you're trying to find a property that is positively geared, meaning it's not really costing you anything on the pockets to hold. And like capital growth is just a reward for being in the game. Is there any downside to that? I guess the only downside is having the mortgage over your head. But if it's covered for the short term, is there any reason to worry about that?
I think you're exposed. I think you're vulnerable. Interest rate rises.
Yeah.
I think that managing that in your mind is tricky for people because it can become a little bit negative. Just about carrying that debt, sleeping with that debt, sleeping with that big debt. So it's interesting. And I think with managing that debt, so many techniques come with it. You've got tax, you've got the debt itself, the interest rate rise going up, you've got repayments, you've got the property. If you've got to rent it out, you've got tenants moving in, tenants moving out. It's multifaceted when you own that debt to property. We've talked about property a lot. There's car debt.
Say again?
There's car debt.
It's car debt. Yeah, you're echoing a little bit this morning. I got that as well. Thanks, Steph. Hope you're well, by the way. But yeah, there is all types of debt. And like you referred back to good debt versus bad debt. But does it kind of make you, I guess, hungrier, want to do better? Do the overheads either kind of make or break you a little bit?
Is that echoing gone?
Yeah, better.
Actually, Stephanie's saying it's very echoey. Let me see if I can fix this. Yeah, go ahead, Billy. What are you saying?
Did you get the question? So, we're talking about the different kinds of debt. Do the different kinds either kind of make or break you a little bit? The
Absolutely.
overheads. Yeah. And is
I've
there?
got to say,
Go on.
they do make or break you, and I have to say that people
watching people out there at the moment, and over the last 10, 20, 30 years in business, that definition or that prioritization between good debt and bad debt is what the clients that are successfully managed have done. So, and I often talk about it with my kids because they're starting, young, at 16, at 24, they're starting young. And I think if you're, like last night, I was talking about subscriptions to news services, to media services, your Netflix, your Binge, your Disney, and all that sort of stuff. And I think often they are debts. They are very small debts, but they do erode or corrode away your account. And you can actually become used to bad debt quite early, or you can become used to good debt quite early. And I think you've really got to watch that. And as you grow, into being a young adult, I think if you learn how to manage that good debt and bad debt real early, and I don't know if they teach that at school well enough, but when I was talking to my eldest daughter last night, I was saying, look, work out with your boyfriend what subscriptions you've got and what subscriptions he's got, and cancel some out. Do you know what I mean? I know that they don't live together, but often these subscription services will work in different locations. Like just having a good, healthy think about those debts that you're running. Are they necessary? Are they healthy? I think when it comes to debt, if you can have that power of prioritization with good debt and bad debt, I think you're done. I think you're going to be you're going to be successful with it or unsuccessful with it.
Yeah, that's a good one. And the other question I had for you is, and you can ask, I love how you can ask your parents this one, but you know, doing a whole lifetime of owning no property and then owning one property and then a couple, which has been your favorite?
So what do you mean by that?
Well, you know, obviously start out, you've got no properties, but by the end of it, you might have a couple. And, you know, your likelihood, your debt's getting bigger, but did you like change at all?
No.
Did it change you? Did it change you?
No.
See, there you go. I find that very interesting.
Yeah. Can you ask that question again, just to make it clear for everyone? It's a big question for a young man.
The question is owning no property versus owning one property versus owning a couple of properties. By the end of it, the likelihood you've got some quite big debt. It is good debt, but it's still big debt. Did it change you at all? And did you have a preference?
Again, the answer is no, but I do have to say, with the first property, it was all in.
Yeah.
It was all in. There was no backup plan. When I buy a property now, I've got a backup plan. I think, well, you know what? You can always sell stuff to keep stuff. So there's a backup plan. But on the flip side of that, you feel like as a whole, there's more to lose if you screw it all up. So that's sort of where you make up less stress in one aspect. You sort of carry a bit more burden because you're worried about protecting the swag of cash. Do you know what I mean? And it's there's a responsibility that goes with it to you and your family, and so it's interesting. But all in all, I reckon it's just managing it in your mind and pushing along. I think it's all hard.
It's all hard. There you go. Nothing to be worried about though.
You know what? Most people do it. Most people do it, and it serves most people well. I think people are second guessing themselves at the moment with the property market not on the upward trajectory. So why would you buy a property if it's not going like that?
Yes.
You got to have a lot of faith in debt, and you got to have a lot of faith in debt for property when the market's doing that or that. Do you know what I mean? So, but I think that everyone sort of has faith that long term it's always done really, really well. So debts. What are you going to do, Billy, with the debt levels that you're seeing? Because you're a young guy. You got some debt. You got some debt there on a property. How are you feeling about it?
It's funny. I remember when we bought it. I say we, like, we included the family in on this conversation. Kind of sat down and worked out what it would cost me, and I was looking at the loan to LVR, loan to value ratio. I've got that right?
Yep.
Yeah. Kind of looking at like how much debt I'm in versus like income and things like that, and I reckon pretty confidently say that I'm in the highest amount of debt I'm going to be for the rest of my life. So I reckon it's only going to get better, even with more properties coming.
Yeah. On a percentage basis from loan to the value of the property.
Yeah, percentage. And that's quite exciting because it means it's only going to get better. Might as well start it on the hardest, start it at the hardest point now, and then it gets easier.
Well, that's it. And you know what? It was an option that you decided to get yourself into. You weren't put into it by anyone else but yourself. So you sort of you just lock and load.
That's the show.
That's a show. Healthy debt versus not healthy debt. How big is your debt? I think the bigger and healthier seems to be okay, but small bad debts or big bad debts, they're the bad debts you want to stay away from. The ones that aren't generating an income or growth.
I like that. See you
See you,
later.
everyone. Hope it helped us. See you, Billy. Thanks, man.